welcome. Here with my good friends and co-host, Big Time Tommy, my son Christian DeMeo. Welcome to the Back in the Day podcast.
We got a very special episode for you today. We got the one, the only, Vinny Pastore.
How you doing, guys?
Rocking the Brooklyn
Welcome.
brand.
Nice to be here.
Nice shirt.
Well, he owes me a sweatsuit, but I don't want to talk about it. I got the gray, but I was hoping I'd get a maroon. You got him in maroon?
Yeah, we got one
Okay.
for you.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Well, I love wearing his stuff, especially when I travel. When I travel on the plane, I put the sweatsuit on.
Comfortable, very good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's right. And nobody's going to mess with you, too.
That's it. So I just want to bring up the fact that when I knew of Vinny Pastore, but when it really stood out to me was when I started watching The Sopranos first season. And then I'm a young filmmaker now. I was going to do a movie called Wannabes. And I was looking for different people that I wanted to cast. And I'm watching The Sopranos, and I see Vinny Pastore come in and do a scene. And I was like, this guy has such presence. He is so powerful on screen. I got to work with this guy. Like, and this is Vinny's like kind of way up, but he was, the magnitude he had on The Sopranos and how great you were, Vinny, honestly, straight up, that's why I wanted to work with you, because when I caught you on that show, I was like, this guy's the real deal. He looks the part, he speaks the part, and he is the part. You were great.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you.
course.
So what they whack me for then? I could have been that good, but they got rid of me for.
Yeah, well, the scene, talking about whacking you, that scene on the boat,
Yeah.
when you had that whole thing going and everyone's looking and everyone's tension,
Yeah.
and the whole, by that point it was season 2, and the whole world was, I could imagine how many phone calls you got after that happened. But that scene, the old last scene on that boat, that's Emmy Award winning.
Yeah. Well, we're broadcasting your show from City Island. And when that show aired, I was living closer down near the water. And the New York Post and the New York Times and the Daily News came over my house, and they watched the episode with me because David would not tell anybody what happens to me. And then the next day in the papers, I was all over the place, Big Pussy dead. So nobody knew. They came over my house.
So they watched the episode
With me.
you? All the press was in.
Yeah, I don't think the Times was there. I know the Post was there, and I know the
They were
news was
sitting
there.
in your living room watching the show.
Right, and yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's-
and I had my next door neighbor over too.
So it was so under wraps because,
I knew what was going to happen. My brother-in-law, we used to get together because the show was in the can already for a year before they started running it, because David would not let the episodes come out until, not like regular television where, they're shooting, they're in the third episode and they're shooting, boom, boom, boom. But David put everything in the can and then released it. So by the time everything was shown, I knew what was going to happen to me. A lot of people in the business knew. And my brother-in-law said, you're telling too many people. Loose lips sink ships.
Absolutely.
So I stopped telling people what was going to happen.
What was the
with me.
casting process like?
Well, Armand's on Gravesend with us. Armand Asante, and I love him so much. Because of the work that I did with Armand and Gotti for HBO is why they brought me in for The Sopranos. They brought in me, Dominic Chianese, and Tony Sirico the same day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I auditioned. And the sides didn't say Big Pussy. The sides said Sal. And we were all reading for this guy, Sal. I remember Sirico told me to go home. He said, I got the part. Because that's the way he used to always break my chops, Tony Sirico. But, and then about 2 weeks later, I heard it was either me or Johnny Williams, Johnny Roast Beef.
It was between you two.
That's what I heard. That's what Roast Beef tells me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was on hold. Did they tell you were on hold?
No, they just said, okay, go home. And 2 weeks later, they said, you got the part. We're going to give you a 7-year contract. But I didn't have a 7-year contract. I had a 7-year contract. I had a 7-year contract, Willie.
Whoa. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, but they decided, I'm going to tell you something. We were doing a roast for Dennis Leary. down in the city, and Kiefer Sutherland. He was on the dais, and he said to me, he was sitting next to me. He said, "Vinny, I would have never did 24 if it wasn't for The Sopranos,
because
it opened up television."
Wow. And Vin, at that point, because you came off Gotti, which
Yeah.
you were amazing as Angelo Ruggiero, and not to get off subject, but
That was 1996.
yeah,
Right?
When we did that, yeah.
And when I played in the Gotti movie, I thought you would have been another great Angelo Ruggiero, obviously, and it was unfortunate that you didn't work in our movie as well. But getting back to that, so you come off that movie with Amanda Sante, who at the time was
He was rocking, man.
Amanda Sante and
Q&A,
love
everything,
Amanda.
man.
Unbelievable. What's going through your mind now? Because at the time, like again, HBO wasn't considered that big of a deal, but I think that the Gotti movie also got HBO a lot more recognition.
It did. It
so
did.
now knowing that you're going to be on a show called The Sopranos, and no one really didn't know too much about James Gandolfini, what are you thinking at this point? Are you thinking I'm in, like, that's it, I broke out, this is my...
No, Willie, because nobody thought the pilot was going to go anywhere. And when we shot the pilot, we didn't hear from anybody for like 6 months. They said we got picked up.
So you shot just one pilot?
That's it. That was episode 1 with the Ducks. And we didn't shoot that in Kearney. We shot it in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And if you really look at it, it's a different social club, different Satriellis, and everything was different, you know? And Sirico had one line, Tony. And then all of a sudden, the phone rings off the hook, and we're going to work.
And now when as it's happening, are you realizing the first season that you guys are creating magic?
Yeah. I'll tell you
like
what.
right there,
I tell you
are.
What happened in episode 2, season 1, is that David teamed me and Tony Sirico up, and we went chasing around for the kids' car. And we broke into the guy's house and all that crazy stuff. And because me and Tony had a chemistry. We had a chemistry since we were kids. And he saw that.
You and Sirico.
Yeah.
You know Sirico a long time.
Yeah.
Before, like.
Yeah.
Because he's Brooklyn, you're the Bronx. You grew up in New Rochelle. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But you knew Tony forever.
I knew Tony from the club days.
When you had your club.
I had a club.
Crazy Horse.
Yeah, but I was also working with Take 5 and Peachtree's, that whole crew from New Rochelle, Marty and Lenny's. And they opened up a club down in the city called the Grand Finale. And Frankie LaGiantana from New Rochelle was partners with our friend, and I'll just say Jerry. And I went down there that night, and I was with Michael Aronin and a lot of guys from New Rochelle, and Tony Sirico. King Creole and the Coconuts were playing, Tommy Mottola's band. And Tony Sirico was sitting at the table, and he had the black hair, shoe polish, no socks, white shoes. So I'm sitting at a table next to him, and my crazy partner took out some babanya. I'll say babanya. And Sirico says, "You put that away or I'll break your neck." And that's how I met Tony.
Wow.
He was a Couge of Cougines.
Yes.
He was a real street guy, right?
Yes.
He was a real street guy.
He was. He was the best. But he learned acting in college.
Yeah. When he was away.
And I'm not talking about NYU.
I hear you.
Right.
Yeah. And so now you guys realize you got something special.
Right.
And then it airs. And like, how long after it aired did you realize, like, you guys were like the Beatles? Like, was it like the first?
No, it wasn't the first. It was once people started saying, because not everybody subscribed to HBO. Even my sister, she didn't want to subscribe. People started subscribing, and then they started running it again, and then they ran the season 1 again, and we took off. Like the Beatles.
That's
so when
true, because
you
you don't just get HBO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it took
Certain
a little-
package.
Right, you had to get the package. You had to get the
started
package.
talking about it.
Right, and they had Oz on.
Zito,
Chucky's
yeah,
show was
yeah,
on,
yeah.
and Edie was on that also. Edie Falco was on that, and they had Sex in the City. So you had Oz, and then they had The Wire. So HBO started getting hot.
Absolutely.
But that's all right, because now we got Gravesend.
Exactly.
Yes. But that's a great analogy, how you said that it was as big as the Beatles, because it's so true. Because once that first episode launched on TV, that's all you heard people talking about until the next Sunday. and because they weren't like on Netflix now, how they put a series on and you could binge watch them one after another. So you had that build up 6 days before the 7th day hit to watch that next episode, and all you heard was people talking during the week on what you thought was going to happen next and who their favorite person was on that show and whose house you're gonna have. It was almost like Thanksgiving. Every Sunday that food would come and there'd be 10, 15 people waiting to watch that next episode of Sopranos.
Right.
And it was
I could just
powerful.
imagine what the premiere was like.
Oh,
right?
Oh, the
You
first
guys say it's
premiere?
like
The first premiere was like nothing because they didn't think it was a big deal. So HBO had us in a theater over on Broadway, and I never forget, Narducci calls me up. She says, I got no seats. So they opened up another theater next to it. So they had 2 little theaters, and then we all went for pizza.
Oh, wow.
That was the premiere. But the second year... Roseland, the party was at Roseland, and they showed it at the Ziegfeld Theater the second year.
Were you at the second
And
season
then
premiere?
when I came in, I was in by season 4, and when I tell you, Vinny was at all those premieres because I remember him being there. But the premiere, by the time I got to it by season 4, it was at Radio City.
Wow.
And it was the hottest thing in the world.
Radio City.
By that time,
Yeah,
everyone was there.
right. And we would come out of the theater and go out to roller skating rink.
and
Come
that's
on,
where
who
the
was
party-
bigger
and
than us?
Everybody was there.
Right.
You see people from Sex and the City.
They were all there.
Everyone wanted to be around The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Everyone. It was beyond huge. And Vinny, so now first season's going. Do you know in your first season where your character's going?
I knew I was the rat. I was playing the rat.
But did you know you were going in season 2, or did you? Think
No. I had a 7-year contract. I thought I was going to be a rat for 7 years. See, when I left after the scene with me and Sirico where he's frisking me in the spa, I thought in my mind that I went into witness protection for a while. And then when I got season 2 and I read all that stuff, and I said, he's lying. He's lying. This whole scene between when Pussy's in the driveway and he's lying. He said he was with the girl. He was a rat. They hit him. That's the way I played it.
Of course.
I played it that they hit him. He didn't go. That's why at the end, when we're drinking the tequila, Gandolfini, as Tony said, did she really exist?
It's brilliant. It was
It was good writing.
If you could talk about that.
And
a
we
little
were
bit
drinking
more.
real tequila, too.
What was it like working
You
with
were.
James?
Yeah.
He let you do that.
Who?
Chase, he let you guys.
This was my last show. I said to the prop guy, give us the real bottle. Well, look at your show again. Slow it down. Those guys realized they didn't know they were drinking tequila until they started drinking it.
Oh, I gotta look that.
Yeah, we really got a buzz on that. What were you saying? I'm
What
sorry.
was it like for you to work with James?
Well, James is like a brother to me, like where your father is. They see something in you and they pull it out of you, and that's what acting's about. That's why you should come to my class. Your friend Armand Medeo, he's a great actor. It's all about relationships. What like we were just looking at some of the takes from Gravesend, and when I work with Chaz and when I work with Tony Darrow, it's magic because we're on the same wavelength. We understand each other because we're all street actors. It's a street actor. Your father's a street actor. I'm a street. We didn't go to London to study.
Exactly.
We grew up and we learned the business growing up.
And speaking of that, this is why when they did the Many Saints of Newark,
Yeah.
and they were doing this thing, and they set up to be another Big Pussy and another Silvio and another Tony Sirico, Paulie Walnuts, and they put younger people in those roles. Those shoes are so hard to fill.
Yeah.
To fill what you experienced and the way you guys were, I felt like it was almost unfair for for these kids.
To try to copy us.
Yeah, it was like
You know what David told Samson, the kid who played Little Pussy, the big pussy in the Many Saints? He said, "Go hang out with Vinny." So he called me, and I said, "Come." Actually, he called me. I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm in the city." I said, "Come to my class tonight." Now I didn't tell him that my acting class is with me and Maureen Van Zant, and that sometimes Stevie shows up. So he walks into class, and I said, "Hi, don't tell nobody who you are." And I walked over, and I introduced him to Steven and Maureen, and he kind of freaked out, but he started to realize our world, and he was calling me for a lot of questions. So it was tough on him because you're right. He had to fill my shoes. My sister called me up and said he don't even look like you.
It's very hard. you guys are legends.
Yeah.
And that's just and when it even comes for me with casting Gravesend, and I have to cast younger people, and like when my first movie's A Bronx Tale, and I was an actor, and Robert De Niro just went out and wanted to find street kids from Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and he went out and he just looked for real people that had that look, and could talk and had the accent. Now, since the world has changed so much, that accent that we all have is almost gone.
It really
Younger
is.
generation. So for me to try to find that in these neighborhoods, it's very hard. It's different. And I always say this about all the faces that you see in all these mob movies. And when I go out and I cast, because I'm on both sides, and I look, and the Vinny Pastores and the Tony Darrows of the world, these guys continually do these parts because they're the best at it.
They're legends.
Every time I try to give someone else a chance, and I would love to, it's very hard to find people that can do what they do. And that's why these guys keep working and working and working, because you want the real thing.
Yeah, it's like this. When John Huston was doing Key Largo and he needed somebody to play Rocco. Rocco in Key Largo was a maniac. He reached out to Edward G. Robinson, and Robinson says, I don't want to play gangsters no more. I mean, how could you say that? I mean, that was one of his best performances in Key Largo. He was playing from Little Caesar. I don't want to play gangsters no more. But you can't say that. You can't say I don't want to play gangsters no more. It's like John Wayne saying I don't want to play cowboy no more.
And if you think about it, if you really think about
That's
it,
what they want you for.
As great as the legends of Robert De Niro and Al Pacino are, two of the best, what are they known for? They're known for their mob roles. Pretty much that's what people really want to see. They've done a variety of great things in there, and they can pull it off. But what do we know them for, and what do we want to see them play?
Absolutely.
Carlito's Way, Scarface,
tough
Goodfellas,
and mob
Godfather.
Yeah.
Street guys.
And you worked with De Niro and the family.
Yeah, we were over in France. It was good because I had worked with Ray Liotta and Jason Statham on Revolver in London. And then when Luc wanted to do The Family, Luc Besson, we went over there. It was cool because I had a break for about 9 days. So he said, you want to go back to the States or you want to stay here? I said, I'm staying here. And I went to Paris. I was in Paris for 9 days.
That's great.
I mean, who gets that? Come on.
And you had some run right after The Sopranos. Your phone was ringing left and right. You kept working.
I was working. Actually, Renzulli got me out on The Practice, Frank Renzulli, and he wrote me in on The Practice, which I was under contract to do Boston Legal, but that didn't happen. I did 3 episodes with The Practice, and we were supposed to do Boston Legal, but that didn't happen. But that's the game. You know the game.
Oh, exactly. And look,
you know
Woody Allen. Woody Allen's a fan of yours.
I love Woody. I know you had Joe Vitarelli in your Wannabes.
Yes.
And Joe and I, he's a sweetheart. He was a sweetheart. I met him when we did State of Grace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's when I met Joe. Yeah, I was in Joe's crew. And when Woody was casting Bullets Over Broadway, do you know it was down to me or Tony Darrow?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tony, I love Tony. He's my brother. He called me 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday. He says, I just talked to Woody. He says, I'm going with the fat guy. I says, I found out last night I got the part. Oh, you're bullshitting me. And that's Tony. And what happened is that Woody gave me the opportunity to play a gangster on Broadway, and that's what we're good at, And then recently, I told you, when I saw you at Chucky's party, I said, I just read Woody Allen's new play.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we did a reading of his new play,
Congratulations on that.
Well, even if it doesn't go beyond that, he thought about me.
Absolutely.
He said he didn't ask me to audition, go on tape. He said, you want to read this? And then I said, yeah. And then I got the script, and I had 60 pages of dialogue. I said, what's going on? But it's what we do. You know that.
Of course. How is it to work with Woody? Is he so? I've asked other people about, and I had my experience on Sopranos as well. But with David Chase, you couldn't change one word in the script, even you.
And that's total opposite with Woody.
Total opposite. So Woody
likes to improvise.
David wouldn't let you.
No, the only time I improvised was I did that scene with Michael in the pilot when we were trying to throw the body into the dumpster. That was improvisation.
He let you go a little bit.
Well, we couldn't throw the body in the dumpster because Barbara, the prop girl, she thought she was pulling a joke on us. We couldn't throw it up. And I said, F this, let's take it over to Staten Island and cut it up. And we dragged it, put it in the trunk, and drove it away.
And it worked perfect.
It's in the pilot.
Yeah.
Nice. It fit perfectly.
But Woody lets you go. Woody lets you.
Yeah, I like, not so much when we were doing the Broadway show, and not so much when we were doing the reading, but I see that because I'm doing a lot of research on his work now. I see that what he does, he gives the actors he gives them that rein.
That's great.
It's a lot of natural stuff. Improvisations, though, it's hard because it don't always work. It don't always work. I think what Marty does is he runs the improvisation, then he locks it in. So the improvisation then doesn't become improvisation anymore; it becomes a scene.
Yeah.
Well,
sometimes people go too far with it. Like with me, if you change a word or so, I'm kind of cool with it. But sometimes
I take you completely out of the scene.
We know where we're going as writers with the
right. And how long did it take you to make a decision whether you're going to make a comma or dot? I mean, you might have been up all night thinking about that, and all of a sudden somebody comes in and you don't want to say what you wrote.
100% right. And
as a writer, when the actors should be taking the pauses, because that's how you wrote it,
Exactly. And, Vinny and I got to work together on Once Upon a Time in Brooklyn.
Right? Yeah.
And Armand.
That was funny.
We had some scenes
That's
together.
funny. Armand I don't think he even knows this. What happened is we were doing the scene, and I'm the barber. And Armand goes like this to you guys. He says, he don't have enough to say. So he wrote me a monologue. And I said, how am I going to learn this now? So he was sitting down, and I said to George, where's the shot? I said, okay. So I taped it on the back arm. Well, you knew that. And then Armand said,
it works.
I gave you the hit. Armand said, that was great, Vinny. One take. I said, thank you, Armand.
That's great.
Sometimes you got to cheat.
Yes. Scrolling through your IMDb, you've got a ton of movies and things that you've done. Did I see correctly you were on General Hospital for 6 episodes?
Yeah.
You played a mobster?
Yeah, and then they
That's
deported
so
me.
cool.
They deported me, and I never came back.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Because
Yeah.
Sonny Corinthos,
Yeah.
Maurice Bernard, plays a gangster for the
He's
last
been for
25
forever.
years of
Yeah.
General Hospital. And I
Yeah.
was going through, I'm like, hold it. It says General Hospital,
Yeah.
6 episodes. Who was your character on that?
I was, come on, I can't remember back then. Today's 420.
Were you a, were you
I-
a boss, or were you just...
I was the big boss who was deported, and I came back for some reason, or I got deported. I don't know. All I know is Sonny couldn't wait to get rid of me because I was upstaging him.
That's great. That's
So
great.
Goodfellas, at that point, because I know you.
Goodfellas changed my life.
Yes, is that the first
1990.
like when you have the scene with Tony Darrow again? Did you know Tony before that, by the way?
No, first time I met Tony was in the Warner Brothers studio when we were all auditioning. We both auditioned for Sonny Bamboo.
Okay.
I did too. And Tony came out and says, "Go home, kid."
Really? And he didn't even know you?
No.
Wow.
Go home, kid.
That's cocky.
So I went in, and Marty was asking me questions, and I told him about my Peachtree days, about how the guys from Pelham Bay used to come up and try to take over the club. So he said, "I'm going to give you something." And then I got a phone call from Ellen Lewis. She said, "You don't have a big part, but you're in the movie." I said, "Fine."
Yeah, with
the coat rack.
And did you become friendly with Marty? Like, did you get to like?
The only time I really was close to Marty was at Shark Tale, that movie I did. We had the premiere. It was the first thing premiere in the city after 9/11, and we had it at Central Park. And I walked on stage. We all walked on stage. Everybody was there. And Marty was in between Bobby and me. And he turned around and he said, "Look at me. I'm between Vinny and Bobby." And I finally said, "Well, why don't you give me a part with your movies?" But I didn't say that. It's tough. It's a tough business. I mean, I wanted to get into The Wolf of Wall Street, and the casting lady, you know who she is, I'm not going to say her name, she said, they don't have Italians down on Wall Street. I said, what are you, nuts? What are you, nuts?
That's crazy. Yeah, I know, right? They're all over. Half the Wall Street was from Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying?
Come on.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And but you got to survive. You got to fight.
Exactly.
You got to go through the ups and downs and, when we do our conversations with Sopranos show, Sharippa asked me very candidly on stage, how did you feel when everybody was moving on, making a lot of money, and you were out of job? He asked me, and I got to tell him, I said, I felt defeated, I felt broke, and I was disappointed. And I didn't watch the show for a year. I told everybody that. I said, then I came out of it. I was doing a movie with Talia Shire in L.A. Ronnie Malma was in it. It was what was it called? Not A Tale of Two Pizzas. Pizza with bullets.
Yeah.
So me and Talia were going out. We were hanging out. And we were in Westwood. We just came out from eating. And TMZ came up to us. Did you see The Sopranos? What do you think of the ending? And I says, I'm watching a movie with Talia. I'm not watching The Sopranos. And that's exactly how I felt. I was working with Talia.
But when
that's the second movie I did with her.
When it first happened, did you really? Because I know, from what I hear, certain people that got killed off. Like I hear John Fiore was very upset about it too.
I wasn't upset.
You
no. They made me a star. Come on. Come on. Look what they did.
Yeah, you had a big part.
Come on. Whoever thought?
But
it's amazing.
My ex-wife wouldn't let me in the house to go pick up my kid all the time. And then as soon as The Sopranos was on, she used to ask me to come in for coffee and cannolis.
Well, if you think about it, you were the main focus. So if you had a smaller part, but you did every season, it wouldn't have been the same impact.
No, I think it was the chemistry between Tony and Pussy, because when Tony says, I loved you like a brother, before they pulled the tickets. Oh no, Sirico said that. I loved you like a brother. It was, the chemistry was there. David knew that somebody had to go, and getting rid of Joe Bottaluca wasn't strong enough.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden
who was Joe Bottaluca?
He was the prop guy all the time, and then he wound up playing one of the wise guys in the first season. They killed him in the elevator. And they said he was the rat. Boom, boom, boom. But that was a cover-up. David knew where he was going with this show. And he sacrificed me to the lambs, but he also wrote me some great material.
What did you
The same thing what you're doing, and I'm not just saying it, what you're doing with Gravesend. When an actor is given good material, he wants to work on it. He wants to shine, man.
If you don't mind me asking, what's your relationship? Because David Chase, I know he don't come from the same neighborhood as us. He didn't grow, he's not in our circles. What's your opinion, as saying, were you friendly with him? Is he down to earth? And you're
I don't think I've ever said more than 5 words with David.
Oh wow!
It wasn't about that. I would talk with Terry a lot.
I love Terry.
And Van Patten, Timmy, all the directors, and Phil, the DP, and I was always with Jimmy, and David was really, 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 really quiet.
But you know what? I think that's the best thing, because in a way
he let us.
Yeah, and I think, you see, it's a little difficult sometimes with me as a showrunner running my show, and I'm so friendly with all you guys, and you're all friends, and I love you guys, but it's sometimes if you think about it, he separated himself completely, because if you have personal relationships with people, sometimes it's a little difficult sometimes.
We were shooting in Italy. The scene when they all go over to Italy and they bring back Furio. And Timmy said, "You're going to Italy with us." I said, "Why? I'm not in there. I'm over here beating up my wife." That was the scene when I was beating up my wife with the roses. He says, No. He's going to think he sees you walking down the street. I said, "You fly me all..." Shut up. And he flew me over to Italy to walk down the street, and then Tony says, "Pussy," and another guy turns around.
And that's all you need.
That's all. So we're in Italy for a whole week. And that's when we start to realize that we were superstars, because me and Sirico went out to Isla Capri one day, and people from London came up to us and asked us for an autograph, and Tony was flipping out.
It's crazy.
To be recognized in Italy.
Of course. And how Tony was one of your dearest friends, right? Tony.
Yeah, I love Tony.
Frank Vincent too.
Frankie, I met Frankie when he was in the sort of club business before he got Raging Bull. He used to have a little trio and play in Mount Vernon called Hoops. He was with Joe Pesci. And then I met Frankie, and that's how I knew Kathy Moriarty, because Kathy used to come into the club. She used to come into Peachtree's, and then I met Frank.
Are you friendly with Pesci?
I don't think Joe and I have ever had one word back and forth. But me and Frank became my inspiration. I was in a club. I was running a club in New Rochelle, and we were watching Pope of Greenwich Village on TV. And Matty was sitting there, Matt Dillon, and Kevin was sitting there. And Matty says, "You should become an actor, and you could work just like those guys." And he pointed to Frank, and he pointed to Tony Masante. And I says, "I never wanted to ask you for a favor." And he said to me, "Talk to Kevin." And Kevin set me up. And everybody needs that push.
Of course.
Everybody needs to say, I believe. Like sometimes people come to my acting classes and I say, "Don't quit your day job." And I'm serious. Don't quit your day job. It's not easy, man.
With all the movies and all the people that you've, played with in the movies and stuff like that, you've met so many people.
Yeah.
You've acted with so many people. Is there somebody that you still today have not acted with that you want to work across the table with, or in a scene with, or in a movie?
I'm hoping that Willie writes in Marissa Tomei as my wife.
That sounds great.
Season 3.
and getting to that, so when we started season 2 with Gravesend, and I'm thinking, and all of a sudden, Fran Drescher comes aboard, and then Chaz Palminteri, and Armand Asante, and Martin Cole, and William Forsythe, and all these great people.
Sophia
Milos, and Gina Gershon, and Mario Cantone, and Vinny. It was just, I knew that he would.
It brought the show to a next level.
Absolutely. And Vinny just crushes it in every scene that he's in, and I'm just honored to work with him again, because me and him have history. We hung out many times. Mount Airy Lodge, Mount Airy Casino. We've done events together. The joy is to work with someone who's like I consider him like my brother.
Yeah,
I
well,
look up
that's.
to him. He's been in the game before me. He's always been a mentor to me. He's always been respectful and always a great guy. And that's the best part of him. And we can't forget Chuck Zito as another one that we work with. But all of us together, Vic DiBattista, you, all of us, I consider us Andrew Dice Clay. I consider us all a family. And I can't be more grateful to have someone like Vinny Pastore in my show. And I'm thrilled, and to
So that means I'm not going to get whacked?
see what happens.
And from the scenes that I sat around watching, you did phenomenal.
Thank you.
You did phenomenal.
Thank you. But I heard you want to whack me.
There's a possibility.
You should let the kid whack me and he gets a button. Yeah.
That chemistry is so great between you, Chaz and Tony.
Chaz,
yeah. And, that... We could talk a little bit about that, between you and Tony going back and forth. I know. Should we go into that segment of that talk? I think we should also do.
Well, what did I do now?
About the show details. So later on, we could.
Yeah, we could talk if we could show it later on. But yeah.
The scene at just so we can have snippets of it so that we could.
You talk about it.
Yeah. So when you're sitting there with Tony and Chaz, and you're having the conversation and about Benny and all that, how was it like? You sitting with Tony again, and was that the first time you worked with?
No,
Chaz?
I've been working with Tony Darrow since way back in the early '90s. Who do I got to kill?
Chaz?
Well, I met Chaz on Bronx Tale, and I knew Chaz from the neighborhood because my grandmother's from Arthur Avenue. And I saw Bronx Tale when it was on 96th Street back in the 90s. So I always supported Chaz's work, but Gravesend is the first time Chaz and I ever went head to head like that, and I'm honored, man. And he he wants to rehearse. I mean, you're sitting around, you're waiting for the lights to go on. Run lines. That's what we do. That's what you're supposed to do.
It was amazing to see how those three guys ping pong.
Yeah, and everyone had their purpose. Chaz is the boss, and you're like you're the mediator.
The whole thing is like there's always an undertow in a character, and my undertow or my underline in a character is that I respect this kid, your father's role, Benny. I really like Benny, and it's sometimes it's hard to play it out without any lines saying I like the kid, and it's all internal. But if you watch some of the great actors that I grew up watching, like James Dean, he never said a word, and he just got it. Sal Mineo, same thing. They know how to do it. They just know how to do it. It's all in the eyes, man.
Exactly. And when you're talking about repetition, which Chaz likes to rehearse, I was recently seeing Al Pacino on an interview, and he says repetition, repetition. Keep doing it, and you get it. He says you may not have it in the seventh, eighth time, and it may just be there completely. And someone like Al Pacino to say, keep going. How was James when it came to rehearsing Gandolfini? Did he like to rehearse with you guys
that's
before?
all he did. He had an assistant with him in the trailer, and I mean he was working on he had so much to do. He may be working on this week's episode, and he's got the script for next week. Exactly. So I can't learn like that. How do you learn? How do you learn this week and then next week too? And that's hard. But that's why he was the lead.
Yeah.
So don't give me the lead, man. I can't handle it.
And let me tell you, think about what he had to.
Yeah.
And how much work he had and how much pressure was on him.
A lot of preparation.
And, I mean, he was the whole show. I mean, it was about him.
And then what happens is your life changes. You can't walk down the street no more. I mean, he was walking down the street in Hudson Street, everybody saying, Tony, he couldn't go nowhere, It was happening a little to me, like I know if I live on City Island, I walk around, somebody yells out pussy. I don't want nobody yelling out pussy on City Island.
No, exactly. How do you think James, because what I noticed is that he didn't really want that. I mean, in a way, he was such a humble guy. He didn't really care so much about that. And am I correct that he's one of the only people that ever shared a salary with other actors?
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
I mean, one thing that me and Tony Darrell discussed last time was when Tony got in trouble. I'll never forget this. When Tony Darrell got in trouble, and he needed money for his lawyers, and we set up an event, and James Gandolfini came there, and we sold tables and tickets. He took pictures.
He was there all night signing pitch all
He
night.
was different, but that shows his heart.
You can't find a guy like that.
No, yeah.
God bless him. And now you and Michael and Steve Sharippa, you guys have this.
We have a show. It's called with Joey Cola. He's our MC. Conversations in Comedy with the Sopranos. We've been to Australia already, 7 cities. We've been all over the States. We were supposed to go to Europe, and then COVID shut us down. Our next show is Minneapolis. Then we got Peekskill. Then we got New Haven, and it's a lot of fun. One show a month.
So let's think about this, guys.
20-something. How many years later?
Yeah. When did The Sopranos end? 2009?
Yeah, but I was off the show by two.
Okay.
That shows the magnitude of how big it was.
Yes.
So you're still.
And people are still watching.
God bless, earning a living, making money. You've done a lot of other things, but you're still reaping those benefits. And think about it. You just said it that you came off in that early on. It's only you, Michael.
Yeah.
And Steven.
And Steven doing, yeah. Well, because of the podcast that Michael and Steven have, that show blows up. I say maybe I bring in 20% of the draw. That's what I put in my head, Podcasts, as what you guys are doing now, just they go all over and people hear it, And
I got to tell you, because I was on Talking Sopranos, and I have so much respect for Sharippa, who's in Brooklynite, and Michael Imperioli. They've said such great things about me. They've said how my show.
Yeah, they love you.
How am I been able to pull it off? And I got to tell you, just to work with them guys and to have them in my corner, I can't thank them enough. Michael and Steve.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great guys. You know?
Yeah, it's like one night, because I get cranky. You know that, Willie. I say, I don't think I can do these shows no more. And Michael looked at me and says, no, it's the three of us. It works. And I said, oh, okay. You know you can get anybody else. They said, we don't want nobody else. And it's just something that happens when we work together up there. Exactly. Like I'm the ball breaker, and I get away with it.
That's great.
I get away with it because they let me get away with
great.
it. Like Sharippa would say, isn't it true that you got fired from The Sopranos because you're a pothead? And I said, well, it's legal now. And people start laughing. He said, what am I talking about now? Blah, 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 blah. So we have a lot of fun.
That's great. Look at them. They both look.
They're doing very well.
My Lotus for Michael and
yeah, they're doing well. And I'm happy they still keep me in the loop. But, but the thing is, like, when we talk about Gravesend, which is an important project for all of us because you're giving a lot of people work. I said this when I was up in Providence a couple of weeks ago on stage. Before The Sopranos, Italian-American actors didn't play wise guys. They got Humphrey Bogart and Edward G. Robinson and Michael Douglas and Kirk Douglas. It was because of The Sopranos that all the Italian-American actors got work. Between season 1 and season 2, Georgiana Walken, the casting director, called me up and she said, Vinny, it's Georgiana. Please send me all your friends' headshots and resumes. I said, I'll do it. And most of those guys, including Anthony Rubistello, wind up working on that show. That's great. She said, I need Italian actors.
Time.
And it's true, because when you see the credits,
you
see everybody with Italian names.
And that's, me coming up as an actor, and everyone was telling me, you got to get on the show. And finally I got on the show. It's funny because I was cast a year earlier when I was on Analyze That, and they called me in and they said I got a part, and I couldn't do it because I was doing Analyze That.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I was part of history. I mean, more than anything.
What was first? Analyze this, Analyze That?
Analyze This was first. I was in Analyze That. I played Al Pacino.
Right.
Yeah.
And Analyze This, David wouldn't let me do it.
So you were cast in that too?
Yeah. Wow. David said you can't do it.
Well, did you get the part Joe Vitarelli had? Were you jealous?
No. Actually, what happened, I had to turn it down. I don't know what part. They offered me a job, and David Chase says, no, Vinny can't do it. I was pissed because he let Tony do it, but I couldn't do it. Tony Darrow could be it. I was like, what the? So what happens is now they're going into doing Analyze.
That's the one I'm in the.
So I went in and read. You don't know this story. I was sitting next to Billy De Niro. They changed the name from Jelly to somebody else, and I was the guy because Vitarelli, God bless him, was asking for too much money.
I heard about that. And
so
then he came down. So
they wrote me in.
Wow, you were going to replace him.
I was the new guy. I was like,
oh my God.
I wasn't Jelly. I was somebody else. And we did a whole reading together and everything like that. And then I heard that they finally gave Joe the money he wanted. Yeah. So they went back with Joe. Okay. But that's how close I get sometimes. What are you going to do?
Joe Vitarelli told
Almost. I'm almost there.
Joe Vitarelli told me that when he auditioned for the role of Jelly, that he auditioned with De Niro and Harold Ramis, and he did a great read, and he was up on the 20th floor or something like that, and he said to them, they said, good job. He goes, you guys are casting me, I'm throwing you guys out the window. He said, he was just a ball breaker.
Yeah.
Joe was a great guy.
Okay.
Good man. All right. I think any other questions or anything else we want to...
Well, I'm running for the New York local, so for SAG-AFTRA, so...
Oh, really? That's great.
So when that comes around... Well, come on, we got Fran, you get me.
That's great.
We won't have any union problems.
That's great. And how is it, if people want to join your acting class, are you still accepting people? Or?
Well, you got to go through the school, and I really haven't been doing anything down now yet, because I don't know when we're going to start with this. It's just hard. All of a sudden, I gotta say, excuse me, I can't go to work today because I got to teach acting. Then your agent says, "What are you, nuts?" So, but I work it out. But I don't want to. I want to focus on what's happening with us right now, where we're going into all this good stuff.
Great.
Where can people find you on social media?
Hanging out with you in your car.
Yeah, Vinny's light on social media. You don't even look at your Instagram, really, right, Vin? You don't,
I don't think I have Instagram.
Yeah,
I don't know how to
I
use that.
never see
I got Facebook, but I got, I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
okay. So.
I don't know. Just call me up. You know where I live. Bring my bell.
Oh,
Come on
Vinny.
over. Just bring me some hash or something. That's all. That's all.
We appreciate you being
I
here.
loved it. This is great, and if we know we're here, we're doing a podcast from City Island. This is where I live. Everybody knows I live out here. This is my home. I'm going to tell you a story. And this is true. When I lost my club back in the late '80s in New Rochelle, and I really lost my club. If you ever read the play that I wrote, I took a job with the Penny Saver because I wanted to kind of clean myself out, and I was driving a truck with the Penny Saver going up and down 95, but on the weekends I would deliver the Penny Saver, and I picked City Island, and I would deliver to every door on City Island with the vision that I was going to clean myself and get my act together and move out here. And now I'm a homeowner down the corner.
Did you move to City Island?
I moved to City Island when we were doing good with Sopranos. That year, the 2001 maybe, I came out here.
Well, I was with your bonus check, right?
Yeah, my bonus check. And but I stayed first. I had an apartment where I told you everybody came home and watched the last episode.
Okay.
And then I bought a house down the corner.
It's great.
But don't come on. I don't want no stalkers. Tommy, you can come over.
Thank you. Where did you film? Because you were in a reality show, The Repo Guy.
Oh, Repo Man was great.
Yes, it was.
We went all over.
I was going to say, was a lot of it done in the Bronx, or was it?
Boston, Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
We went all over
So you
because
got
what
to Hawaii,
happened, and this is good to know, the first year we were doing it in a warehouse and they were doing the exteriors without me. And then I said, listen, and we sat around, Bobby Sheen from American, and I says, one, I want to be a producer, and two, I got to go on the runs with you guys. So, and that's what happened.
He was also on what was the Trump show again?
Oh, Apprentice.
So how was that experience? Tell me about that. Like let's not get into politics situation talk, but
Well, Chucky was over his house. What are you talking about?
I know Chucky was just there.
Chucky was down at the house.
But how was it? Tell me how was it at that point to like work with Trump on The Apprentice? Like, what was your experience with that?
Well,
This is before
Chuck LaBella got in touch with me, and he said, out of all the guys from New York, Donald asked for you. And I says, and I was going,
Wow.
yeah.
And you didn't know.
That's amazing.
You didn't know.
I didn't know him personally. I knew who he was, and we got along. I got along with Donald, I know a lot of people, I don't like to talk politics. I don't want to end up like that, I don't end up like that.
The one thing you could say, but you did work with a president, regardless of whether like the president or not like the president or whatever it is.
It's a major
Just
achievement.
to work or be in the president's company is a major accomplishment. I mean, come on. I mean, right? I mean, I met
Yes.
Bill Clinton on the set of Analyze That.
Oh, yeah?
I'm working to Analyze That, and who comes? And we're in Harlem. And who comes? Bill Clinton comes on.
He
the
comes
set.
to the set.
And he was so cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just to know, you shook a president's hand.
Yeah.
Think about that.
You know what's wild about him? I seen him on, I think it was the David Letterman show or the Jay Leno show, and they asked him, if you weren't president, what would you want to be?
Saxophone player.
He said a rock star.
He did?
Yeah, and I thought that was the coolest fucking thing I ever
Well,
heard.
I'm fooling around with all those gumads, and maybe, you want to be a rock
Hey,
star?
forget about it. You don't know what's under this table
know?
either.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You got to be careful. They dig dirt up for anything.
Yeah, they do.
They just do. Anyway, thanks, guys. Everything
Thank
was
you.
a pleasure.
So great
Right.
having you, Vinny.
On our show.
All right, good,
Absolutely.
good,
God
good.
bless
Where's
you.
my sweatsuit?
Okay, we got you.
Okay,
Get you another
all
one.
right.
You went down. You had the other ones. Now we got to get you one.
No, I got the gray one. I was going to
Doesn't
wear
fit
it
you
today,
no
but I
more.
would have died in here with it.
Yeah.
What size are you?
Well, I used to be as big as you, but now I'm a lot thinner.
What are you in a large now? Now you're a large.
Why, you going to order me one?
Now
No,
we're
come
No, I want
on.
to give you one. Which one? What size are you?
I don't know yet. Have Michelle give me a measurement. That's
He's an
all.
extra large.
I'm an extra large now?
The other one was
And what happens if it don't fit? Then I got to give it to him. Then I got to give it to Armand. He's waiting for me to die so he can come over my house. Okay. Okay, beautiful.
you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great show.
That's great.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all social platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you.
See you next time.
We come from Brooklyn, baby. We come from Brooklyn.